Well, baby, I'm on it with a bottle of wine and an old dirt road and ready to go. Thanks, everybody, for joining us today on Live Music Nation podcast. I'm your host, Jake Gill. We're with Trey Giuntini. Did I say that right?
Giuntini, that's correct.
Giuntini,
yes.
All right, with the Cannon Center in Memphis, Tennessee. Trey, thanks for joining us today.
You're welcome. Glad to be here. Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about the Cannon Center and the type of performances that you guys host.
It's the Cannon Center for the Performing Arts in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a 2,051 seat venue that hosts a variety of events, from music of all genres, all styles, down to ballet, home of the Memphis Symphony Orchestra. So it's a true performing arts center.
Very good, very good. Trey, give us a little background on you. Where did you grow up, and how did you get into the position that you're in now?
That's the long story here. I've been a lifelong Memphian. I grew up in this area, actually graduated a little bit across the bridge in a city called West Memphis, Arkansas. So I'm a Razorback fan, and I'm proud of my Hogs for the NCAA tournament this year.
Yep.
So very glad to have that. And being a local boy, graduate of the University of Memphis, I'm also proud of the University of Memphis Tigers too. So I got to plug that for the basketball time. But grew up here in this area. And I started years ago, took a job. I was actually going to teach. That's where I kind of started in this business, and at college, and went to a venue I got an internship as a museum manager. I started doing that, and then went into venue management in general. And I managed a facility that had a 5,000 seat outdoor amphitheater, and did that for about 25 years, along with other aspects of it. So I cut my teeth, literally all aspects of this industry.
Sure.
I have been in from concessions to frontline tour guide, down to parking, to rental facilities, down to just whatever it takes to make a show happen, sound, lights, production. So after a good run at that venue, I moved over to the Cannon Center to provide what I'm going to call a little bit of solid focus on the Cannon Center, and bringing shows and making sure it stays and remains a viable venue in Memphis, Tennessee.
Fantastic, fantastic. Are you back to normal now?
We're getting back to normal. It feels like we are back to normal. That's the interesting part. When we first came back out, we were early coming out of COVID, in terms of we had a few events on the books that even would have operated at a socially distanced environment last year, and then the mandates went away. So we were prepared, and immediately, like in June of last year, just started doing events, and it's been nonstop ever since. And those have had some hiccups that went in there, and some did cancel. But we did a show last weekend, and I walked out of that thinking that's the closest to normal I've been since pre-pandemic.
Yeah. So let's flash back to COVID. Being a leader, being a manager. Not only did you have your season ticket holders and your ticket purchasers to think about, but you also had your staff to think about. What were some of the key building blocks that you had established in you that helped you get through those times?
Well, COVID kind of flipped me and everyone else's world upside down. But the very first change that happened for me was I always represented myself as a show must go on kind of guy. And COVID proved me wrong. The show doesn't always go on. There's a stoppage, and there's things that can happen in there. So with COVID, we learned that you had to rebuild and move towards a better relationship with our audience, our fans, our people. They want to understand and see the transparency, and understand that your building is ready to go, that acts are going to be in there, and take care of my artists, fans, as well as staff. COVID set us back to go that we want to make sure the facility's clean. We want to make sure we're checking people when they come in the door, and we're responsive to what the needs are of the individuals. So you had building policies that were in place. You've always had a relationship with your promoters, your tours that are there, and what their needs are. But it came from a variety of directions. Everyone came at it with a whole set of rules that went on, and what Memphis was doing may not have been the same thing that
Yeah.
Nashville was doing. So we got into some tight knit groups. Zoom, thank you to Zoom, bringing everyone together to understand what the industry as a whole was doing, and then go, here's what my local mandates tell me I have to do, and how do I make that adapt to everybody. I think the biggest thing for COVID that came out of it was me is we had to be flexible, and we had to be ready to communicate with our audience and our tours.
Very good, very good. Let's talk specifically about your responsibility as a manager and a leader and a director for your staff. I'm sure that they freaked out when they saw that, hey, this is as serious as we feared and more serious than what we hoped for. And they started looking at their jobs and their family and their livelihood. As a leader, as a manager, as a director, what were some things that you really fell back on?
Well, we fell back on the fact of looking at it and say, I want to say that I work for Memphis Management Group, which is a wonderful management company that oversees the venue. And we really didn't have to lay off the full-time staff.
Yeah.
We all took pay cuts to remain in the building, and with the hope of the future going to get brighter. But it was also a time as a manager for us to look at things that, okay, we don't have shows going on right now, but what can we do? What business can come into the building? What can we produce? And even if we're not producing and generating straight revenue from this, what are things that the building and our staff can benefit from? Time to rewrite standard operating procedures, time to go through your building from top to bottom and make sure that everything is buttoned up or has been looked at, touched, or seen, and you have come up with a, whether it's an immediate improvement plan or a capital improvement plan in place. And we created pages of documents that weren't just necessarily busy work, but they were eye openers for us to go, hey, these are things that when you're in the trenches, it's kind of, my boss said it to me, it's kind of hard to create a fire plan when you're just busy putting out fires. Well,
Sure.
when the show stopped, it gave us time to create that plan. And that's kind of where we're living off of today. Came back stronger.
That's a fantastic way to look at it, and just having that positive attitude and that role of leadership in a moment, because we've talked to many venues who didn't have your philosophy on a shutdown, and they almost just threw up the white flag and gave up and didn't do anything, whereas you became very proactive and took advantage of a situation that was out of your control. So that's fantastic. What are some things that, as a facility and as a talent buyer, you guys are going to leave in place that were revealed during the COVID time, that you're going to leave in place for the future?
Well, I'll go back. One of them I said, touched on a little earlier, was let's go with communication. We definitely want to make sure that we have a good contact trail to our fans, those that are purchasing tickets and how they're buying them. And even sometimes in the ticketing world, you have third-party ticket sellers that get them and they go out there, but having an established line of communication for whatever happens, whether it's some sort of event at the venue, COVID comes back or whatever, we have a way of communicating with you. And that also leads into a revision of, I hate to say it, but a revision of the refund policy. I've been in this industry a long time when the word refund is just, that's it. There is no refund. You buy a ticket and you're done.
Yeah.
In order for the public to come back, they got to have confidence that the show is going to be there. They've got to have confidence that you're a facility they want to come to. And then they got to have confidence that if ticket prices are going up, if I buy this ticket, am I going to get to go to the show, or is my money going to be tied up and I'm not going to get there? And we as venue operators have to be very aware of that and a little more lenient as opposed to a rigid structure on refunds. So we're going to carry that into where we go to in the future. I think those are the most important things, as well as them. I'll always say this in this industry. Shows are, it's talent driven. People have got to want to come see the show. But secondly, at your venue, you got to make sure they're comfortable and they want to come there, have them build those habits to come back and go, yeah, the Cannon Center for the Performing Arts is a great place. It's clean. They do good shows. And I feel like I'm in a good environment and I want to go back again.
Yeah, very good. So you've talked twice now and really emphasized hard that you have worked really hard to improve your communication with your ticket buyer. How did you do that?
A lot of that is capturing, making sure that sales all go through some sort of mobile ticketing. Mobile ticketing is wonderful. We've seen that, major sports have driven that change in the world of it's all on your phone. You go out, a seamless purchase online. It's on your phone. You have it there. So text messages that can go out associated with that are directly, whether it be a change or it can be something immediately happening at the venue. So social media helps us out tremendously. We're all in that limited, narrow attention span world. So you got to hit them and get them, but they can always go, hey, to Cannon Center, do a quick search and say, what applies to me for this particular event?
How much is it? If you ranked your top three means of communication with your buyer, where would text message be? Where would email be? Where would social media be in those orders?
I'm going to say one is email directly going to the consumer. Two is text because they've always got their phones with them, and then social media being the third. They're watching it, but
Sure.
They're going to know they got something or respond when it's a text or an email directly to them.
Very good, very good, very good. Trey, let's go back. This is one of my favorite segments to do because there are a lot of people now post-COVID who are looking at career changes, and maybe some of them have actually realized that, hey, life is really short and I'm working a job that I don't really want to be working. And so I want to make a job change and I want to make a career change. If someone wanted to get into the administration side, the leadership side of live events and live entertainment, what's a good way for them to get started?
Get in touch with the venue, start somewhere working at a venue. I mean, you've got to have a knowledge of all aspects of it. I certainly have benefited from that. And I've been in the trenches from doing settlement of shows down to booking of the shows, down to making sure I've got the right alcoholic beverage for a particular concert that comes in. So, and the only way to know that is to be out there. I work, and I will tell them, if you do get into an opportunity to be there, be proactive and take the lead in learning the industry, what you want to know about it. I can say that in my venue, anywhere that I've worked doing these, 95 to 99% of the shows that we do, I'm on site at those shows, and I'm interacting with the public and the people that are there to understand what their needs are, what their concerns are, give feedback to the promoters, give feedback to my staff that's there. But also when I sit down to do a settlement to the show or do something about my building, creating a maintenance list, etc., I've been there and I've seen it and I do it. So I will tell people, don't get into it on an administrative side where you think, oh, administration means I'm sitting at a desk and I'm going to be there on the computer all day and get there. That might get you there for a while, but it's not going to give you the resources and the knowledge to adequately do that job.
Very good. Very good advice. Very good. All right, let's have some fun for a moment. Top three concerts that you've seen your entire life. Top three concerts, who would they be?
Well, number one for me is going to go I saw a Judas Priest in Memphis, Tennessee at the Coliseum in 1982.
All right.
And that was, I was a big fan going into it, but then the night came up where it was going to be filmed for MTV. And in 1982, that was the world then. You weren't used to seeing cameras at a show and people running around left and right and lasers and all. So the energy and the excitement of that. And then they wound up making that into a for sale video DVD of it. So that was one of the top ones. The other one is seeing legends, seeing Robert Plant in concert. Just an absolute, seeing a legend in concert doing these shows was wonderful. And then I had one with a band, I'm going to say Better Than Ezra. And I would just say because they did a great live show, but they just stopped in the middle of that and invited just some random audience member up on stage to play guitar with them. And the only lick that the guy knew was a little bit of Sweet Child of Mine, and not a Better Than Ezra song at all, but they just kind of rolled with it, went with it. Crowd went wild. People had a great time. And that was one of my favorite moments of seeing a show. It was really cool.
That is pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. One more fun one. dead or alive, you could bring one act into the Cannon Center for Performing Arts, who would you bring?
I would, dead or alive, bring him in this building. I would have to be like the Rolling Stones. Rolling Stones is one of my just want to see artists of all time. So I could go back in time, I would go back to the Stones and say 71, 72 time period and just see them in the heyday. Not that the guys, they're still doing their thing, but it's just an awesome, it's rock and roll. That's what it is.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. That's great. Trey, I just want to thank you for your time. I know this is getting to be a busy season, and we're glad for that, and grateful for what you do for live music, what you do for live entertainment and live performances. Glad to hear things are getting back on track in Memphis, and you got that tingling in your skin on your last show when they walked off stage. Just that big breath of relief of like, hey, we're back. We feel like things are coming back. But I love your attitude. I'm going to share that over and over and over with our audience and on TikTok and Instagram. Just the way you looked at the pandemic and the time that you utilized when you had that time to do, that's a tremendous role and a tremendous model for our listeners. So thank you very much for coming on today, and hope we see you down the road somewhere, and good luck.
Thank you, Jake. Glad to be here. Glad to help anybody I can. Thank you.
Well, baby, I'm on it with the